Hello and welcome to another. I almost said edition. I'm going to start over.
Start over. We can start it over if you want to, because I was on my phone.
Too long. I don't remember how to do this.
Or we could leave it in here and just show you how rusty we got.
It's Baseball at the Corner. This is the Michigan in Trouble podcast with your hosts, Alex S. Freeman and Luke Jaconis.
Hello and welcome to the Michigan and Trumbull podcast. My name is Alex Freeman, joined as always by Luke Jaconis. Luke, normally at this point I say, how you been this week? But how have you been since September, when last we podcasted?
Yeah, so we can approach this in two ways, as if we're just podcast partners who never talk to each other once we hit stop recording, or that we're friends. So I'll take it the podcast partners on. I've been great, very busy with work. I've got some cool things going on the side as well, some personal projects I'm pretty stoked about. The Tigers finished pretty darn well, I must say. They definitely proved me wrong in terms of how they finished the season, which is awesome. And I've been good. Life is good. Florida life is good. It's hot right now, which is weird. It's actually not too hot right now, but it is odd being down here as the Christmas season is getting going and people are still going to the beach. At this point in time, if I was back home in Chicago, I would be complaining about the weather nonstop. And actually, not so much now. After the holidays, that's when I turn into a complete Scrooge with the weather. Up to Christmas, I don't mind it. But that was a long-winded answer, Alex, to say I'm fine.
No, it's great. It's great. Yeah. Apologies to our dozens of listeners out there for the long absence of the show. But we both sort of got a little bit busy. I broke Luke. Luke's broken. This is absolutely staying in. This is not hitting the cutting room floor. I'm going to keep going while Luke just like coughs a lung out. Those of you.
Apologies to the dozens of listeners.
Both have kind of been working in. We work in the theater industry. We work theater industry adjacent, and for most of the time that we've been doing the show, the theater industry has just like not existed. And slowly but surely, life has started to get busy again, which is great. Luke is, for those of you that just listen to the audio version of the show, Luke is like sweating and crying at the same time.
I laughed, I cried. I feel like that went down the wrong. I laughed. The joke made me laugh, and I was drinking water, so then it went down the wrong pipe. You heard the coughing attack, and now Alex is right. I feel like I just ran the mile.
It's Luke just finished the New York City.
And I usually run a mile when I try. I try to warm up every day at the gym with a mile, but it appears that training is not going well because I am dying right now. Okay, sorry, folks. This is great. This is just how I would have not wanted it any other way. Our comeback episode after almost a 2-month break. Alex, you were saying we've been busy with work stuff. Please continue. I apologize.
Yeah, no, and so our apologies for getting way off the schedule. But here we are. We're in the off season. So this week we're going to do a bit of a Tigers season recap. At some point in the next couple of weeks, we'll organize with friend of the pod, Tom, so we can talk through how badly we all kind of picked this season. I haven't actually dove into the numbers, but I think we all did pretty poorly ultimately.
I remember I was doing pretty bad at the halfway.
Which is good for baseball. It was more interesting, I think, than what we all picked and thought. Yeah. But let's start. Let's go last in, first out, and let's talk about the Tucker Barnhart signing or trade. I think that speaks both to how surprising this season was, and what seems to be a harbinger of signs to come for the offseason. So Luke, what are your first kind of impressions on this deal?
Well, I like it. It's a bit of a bittersweet like. The reason why it's a bit bitter is because the reason we need a guy like Tucker Barnhart in the first place is because, and I think we talked about this before, we went on our hiatus or whatever. I don't know if we did, so I'm repeating myself. Forgive me. But with the Jake Rogers injury, this had to happen. Eric Haas was a nice surprise in 2021. There's no doubt about it. He did kind of slump more towards the tail end of the season. So I don't know if I would have had complete confidence in him being the starting catcher full-time moving into 2022. So bringing in a vet like Tucker Barnhart, I think is awesome. I have to, and I think I'm going to be saying this a lot more lately. I hope to God, at least I will be. Credit to Al Avila for getting this deal done right away. Now that is one issue they can check off the list. Now let's just sign a shortstop. Bring on Correa. We're all ready for it. Correa to America. Let's do it, folks. But it was a good deal. And you know what? Not a bad return also for the Reds. I know they get, I believe it was former second rounder Nick Quintana. I don't know the pronunciation of the last name, forgive me. But, an infielder was definitely in kind of low A, had some struggles from what everything I could kind of read and tell. So hopefully it works out for him in the Reds organization. The Tigers get a solid catcher in Tucker Barnhart. I'm excited. A Eric Haas, Tucker Barnhart platoon for 2022. I think that's not bad. That's nothing to kind of be pissy about. So this is a good step in the right direction heading into the offseason.
Yeah, and I think that it was nice to be reading articles about the move, talking about it's a sign of franchises heading in two different directions, and the Tigers were the team on the upswing. It feels like it's been a while since we've been on that side of the trade equation.
Yeah, it has been. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's been, and it was, and I agree with everything you said. Credit to Al Avila and the organization for getting this done quickly, seeing the need, seeing the opportunity, and taking it.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we'll see. The big waiting game is the shortstop situation. All rumors and desires point to it being Carlos Correa as being the target.
Let's hope.
We'll see how quickly that comes together is sort of the big question. Interesting note, just as former Tigers, Nick Castellanos also opting for free agency, leaving obviously not, I don't think there's a place for him. I don't think he would want to come back to Comerica, but even if he desired, I don't think there's really a place on this roster for him. But
Nick is kind of old news with the Tigers, which is, I always liked Nick with the Tigers for what it's worth. I feel like there's now kind of a weird kind of animosity between Castellanos and Tigers fans. He's kind of talked some crap here and there. I mean, all the crap he's talked about Comerica is completely valid in my opinion. It is a insanely huge. It is not a hitter's ballpark, and everything he said about Miggy, had he not played in Comerica, he could probably maybe have another 100 home runs on top of what he's got now at 502. I think that's pretty valid as well. There's a weird animosity between Tigers fans and Castellanos. I feel like, regardless, he's not coming back to the Tigers anytime soon. So, if ever again, most likely. So he'll go somewhere else, and best of luck to him. I always liked Nick for what it's worth. You are right though. It is kind of interesting the changing of the guard, so to speak. A team like the Reds, who I feel like had so much stock, just a season or two ago. Now they're kind of on the decline, and the Tigers, fortunately for us, are on the incline, which is awesome. So let's keep it moving.
Yeah, so I guess as we kind of shift into now talking about this season, which for me, I guess we'll start there. So my headline impression of the season is that the Tigers are further along than we maybe thought they were. Is kind of my headline for the season. What might your headline takeaway from the 2021 season be?
Good things are coming.
Mm-hmm.
Good things are coming, and we had a really good episode before we went on our little break, kind of about the different fandoms and how you and I as fans approach the game differently. I'm much more the emotional fan. You're more of the casual, laid back, let's trust the process, if you will, kind of fan, which is great. Neither one is really wrong, in my opinion. And I've said it before, I at times talked a lot of trash about the Tigers this season because there was times they played like trash. I mean, my God, that month of April was absolutely atrocious. And I tweeted this out, but I never had a chance, I think, to say it because I think by the time the end of September rolled around, we weren't really putting out episodes because we were both busy with work and whatnot, life. The way they finished September was really impressive. And I kind of alluded to it earlier in the episode. I thought for sure they were going to have a really bad month of September. All signs pointed in the direction of September being a dumpster fire. Injuries, schedule, it did not look good. And they finished pretty damn well. Almost finished 500. I mean, I know we're not playing for almost finishing 500 in the game of baseball, but considering the fact this is a team that had not won more than 64 games since I think it was 2016, if I'm not mistaken, pretty good. They definitely surprised us, and I think good things are to come. A lot of holes that still need to be fixed, that need to be addressed, issues that need to be definitely kind of looked at, some positions that definitely need some revisiting, but good things are coming, and that's very exciting. I didn't think after the way the season started, on a season wrap-up episode, we would both be giving these kind of headlines out, because it just didn't get off to a great start, but they proved us wrong. They've really made some great strides, made a lot of great improvements, and good things are coming. There's no doubt about it.
And so just to kind of balance this out, because I think both of our headlines were positive, not that we need a ton of negativity, but what, as you look at the 2021 season, were some of your biggest disappointments?
Well, towards the end, pitchers getting roughed up was definitely something that was a bit startling to me. They lost Alex Faedo before the season even began, a pretty highly touted prospect. You got Joey Wentz coming back from surgery, so he did well in the minors, but he's what I'm getting here is pitchers. You can never not have enough pitching. You lose a guy like Faedo, Wentz is on the rebound still. Spencer Turnbull probably done for all of next year. Matthew Boyd, not looking great, going to miss a significant amount of time in the 2022 season. Maybe not the whole thing, but a good amount. So that was a bit disheartening to me. And then obviously the big one is defensively. I think this team they're just still missing that guy. And all signs point to you can fix everything, or pretty much everything, if you sign a shortstop.
Mm-hmm.
The middle infield needs a ton of work still, but hopefully now that they have scope for another 2 years, they can put him back at second. I don't know what they're going to do necessarily at the first base position, but go out, get a shortstop, and let's just be done with it. Those are the two big things for me: starting pitching, injuries towards the tail end, and the incompetence that was the middle infield position at times, and not at times, pretty much throughout the entire season for the Detroit Tigers. The defense was not great.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with that first base position, because you think about the grand experiment of moving Torkelson to first base, was a third baseman in college.
Mm-hmm.
The big talk being he's going to be a first baseman, and I think surprisingly to some extent this season, how quickly he advanced through the minors, that there is a chance he makes this roster out of camp, depending on how camp goes, or very soon into the season. So there is a scenario where if Torkelson's development has continued on the correct trajectory, that he is maybe not the everyday first baseman, but one of the options at first base early on in the year, that maybe he's platooning with Miggy,
which is awesome to say that out loud, at
that first base spot. And then you can move Scope back to second base, where he is a Gold Glove winner, and then you have hopefully signed a shortstop, and we've got Jamer back at third base, and so that is a pretty exciting infield.
Yeah, I mean, the potential to see the potential really is the fact of the matter is we could see Torque and Riley Green out of camp. I don't think that's completely out of the realm of possibilities. Will it happen? I don't know. I have a feeling, my gut says I could see it almost in sometime in May, get them a little bit of time in Toledo just to make sure they both had great starts, working their way through the minors this year, but let's just make sure they're still good to go. But they could make it out of camp. I mean, I'm all for it at this point. I'm ready to put our cards on the table and say, let's go all in and let's do this thing. Yeah, I think that's a real possibility. What's funny too, that you mentioned the thing with Miggy and Torque potentially platooning at first. I feel like it was a year and a half ago where we were wondering, will we ever even get to see Miguel Cabrera play with guys like Torkelson or Riley Green? And now that's going to happen. And that's going to be really cool to see. It's that really is going to kind of be as at least we all assume as of now, based on how they've done in the minors, Miggy kind of a passing of the torch to Torkelson and the guys like Riley Green, and ushering this new era of Tigers baseball, which is cool. Also going to make me very sad, because the fact of the matter is, as days go by, it's only becoming closer and closer that Miguel Cabrera's time in baseball in general is coming to a close. But for what it's worth, and people love to crap on him, pretty consistent. I know people love to keep throwing the Miggy contract. Anytime you get into it with someone on Twitter, they always say their always go-to move is throwing Miguel Cabrera's contract in the face. And rightfully so, because the contract isn't great in hindsight. But you know what? For his age, what he's gone through, he is still pretty damn consistent. I don't think he's still a number 3 or 4, but you know what? He gets the job done for what it's worth. He doesn't hit for power like he used to, but he's still Miguel Cabrera. He's still, if the game's on the line, I have no qualms with him taking that bat. 0.
It'll be interesting to see what the Miggy contract is always an interesting discussion point, because none of those massive deals, the 10-year type deals, ever look good in the last half of them usually.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think we saw it with Albert Pujols, who still had a great year, not worth the money that the Angels were paying him. And similarly, like, is Miguel Cabrera worth 30? What does he do? 36 million next year? Like,
it's somewhere. I'm pretty sure it's somewhere in the low to mid 30s.
Like, no, like we would not sign Miguel Cabrera this year for $36 million. It'll be interesting to see how that trend might change in baseball as more and more of these deals have like played out.
Yeah.
People are like,
I agree.
No, you're actually worth much more money at the front, and we should pay you like that, and let it taper out and down. Like,
right.
We will sign you for 10 years, but like, we would much rather have Miguel Cabrera for 10 million this year than for 35.
Yeah.
And so it'll be interesting, because like, you also look at like the Dodgers, who have the Mookie Betts contract on their books, and they were not able to repeat this year.
Or look at the Mike Trout contract with the Angels. I mean, the Angels are just a complete dumpster fire. I mean, that's nothing on Mike Trout.
And the Pujols contract. And the Angels have never been competitive for a world.
Shohei too. I mean, the Angels they're just terrible. I mean, they are a complete joke in terms of a ball club. I mean, you can be like a complete joke like the Orioles, who are just atrocious, but you look at the roster and like, well, yeah, it makes sense that they're atrocious. Look at the roster. You look at the Angels roster, at least in terms of offensive, from the offensive side, there's no excuse. Now, I know Trout was injured for most of 2021, but no excuse. The Angels are a laughing stock. Kind of kicking it back to you, as we're just kind of doing this is a nice little cathartic season wrap up, and we look a little into the off season. What were some surprises for you this season in terms of moments, in terms of potential players and performances? What do you got? Because I got a couple, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you've mentioned one of them already, but Akil Baddoo and Eric Haas, both just delightful stories, fun players to watch, coming through in big moments. Certainly having, moments of rookie slumpness, but to be expected. But the moments that they had were so electric, that it was unlike anything we'd seen in a while from Tigers baseball. And having those moments to watch throughout the year, and continuing into September were all really, really great. Like just lovely to see. Probably my highlights of the year, aside from watching Miguel chase history, which was not a surprising thing. We knew that was going to happen throughout, and so that was great. We get to watch a little bit of it as we come back. So it'll be good. It'll be great. Yeah, but definitely those two guys are probably my biggest highlight surprises, and then I think Jamer's play throughout the year. Solidifying himself as hopefully a Tiger for a long time to come, because I would love to see him hanging out at third base when this team wins the next World Series for the franchise.
That would be awesome. I agree with all those. I would also throw into the mix. I know he struggled at some time. I thought Scope had a solid year, and the new guy, Robbie Grossman. I mean, who would have thought when they signed Robbie Grossman off season, he would have the productivity that he ended up having? But he had a lot of big hits for the Tigers. I mean, I can think of Robbie's. He had the walk-off against who was it, the Yankees. Akil Badu had those early season walk-offs. Eric Haas had a couple, didn't he have, was it one or two game-tying grand slams? It was the one in Minnesota, I thought.
It was a second. I feel like there was a second.
Wasn't there one in Texas too? I want to say something. He had a big home run, game-tying home run in Texas. Yeah, I mean, offensively, it was great. Also, for what it's worth, and I don't know if he's like a big player moving forward, but I definitely think he's got a spot on the roster, no doubt about it. Hitting Harold Castro. Yeah. Like, he had a real solid season. Like, I know it almost became at times like a bit of like a caricature, but like he really did perform pretty well throughout the entirety of the season.
Well, that's like
pretty cool.
Like with Harold Castro, you think about like what we just said about the potential infield next year. Like that then is a lineup in which utility man Harold Castro can really shine, because you can you can plug him in where you need to. And you sort of know you're taking a slight step back that day in that position defensively, but he's gonna be fine on the bat, and he'll be fine in that position, and without the kind of everyday pressures of like trying to be that guy at the position, which he's never really quite able to be. And Robbie Gross, like, bringing up Robbie Grossman is fantastic, because if anybody wants to go back to the episode after we signed Robbie Grossman, both Luke and I's opinion was like, yeah, okay, sure, fine.
Robbie, wasn't he the 2020 man? He had a pretty big year, so good for him.
Yeah,
I mean, he did good. Also, for what it's worth, shout out to the Young Bucks on the pitching side of things. So, we got to see Mize and Skubal develop. They both struggled at times, but both also really kind of put their footprints in and said, hey, we're here to stay. And, I feel like it just kind of got swept up in everything because towards the end, pitching was so scarce. But Matt Manning debuted, and I thought, for what it's worth, he did okay. I mean, for pretty much as crappy as he was performing in Toledo, when he got the call to Detroit, there were some games where he was pretty awful, but I thought he was fine. I mean, I thought it was a solid rookie season for him. Also, if you really want to get into it, Willie Peralta, that was kind of a surprise as well. So, I mean, and I think, that all goes back to our guy, Chris Fetter, and just in general, the coaching staff is really solid. We've got a phenomenal coaching staff right now in Detroit. We've praised them a lot throughout the season, so it's not like I want to go down that rabbit hole again. I think everybody in Detroit is a fan right now of AJ Hinch, Chris Fetter, Scott Coolbaugh, the whole gang. And if we want to really just take it a step further with the pitching, the bullpen wasn't horrible. At times, actually, they were pretty competent, which was a pleasant surprise. And I definitely think there are some big players in the back end. Not great all the time. Consistency sometimes scares me, especially with phone strikes and big moments. But Soto, Fulmer, Funkhauser, Cisnero, there could potentially be something there with the four of them. Be curious to see if maybe any of those guys get dealt this offseason, because they didn't have terrible years. Maybe in particular, a guy like a Fulmer. But we'll see. It would be interesting. There's like I said, good things are coming. Good things are most definitely coming.
While we're on the pitching staff, because I think that we have to just kind of set the expectations for the offseason, where we're not going to get everything done that the roster needs. I think that I think we are certainly in a position where if Al and his team go through this offseason correctly, the Tigers will be in a position to compete for the American League Central. Out on the other side of this, with some question marks of like, guys got to step up, they got to do stuff. So as we look at the pitching staff, if Al has to choose between solving starting pitching and solving bullpen, which do you prioritize as a fan, where the issues in pitching arise? Because I think throughout the entire season, we saw issues at every position in the pitching staff.
Yeah, it's a great question. And it really is kind of think about where we were a year ago now, because my answer probably would have been completely different. I feel more confident right now, I'd say, in the bullpen, which is crazy to say out loud. I feel like lightning is about to strike than I do with the starting pitching. And it's not that I'm not confident in the starting pitching. It's just kind of what I alluded to earlier with the injuries to Turnbull and Boyd. Now it leaves some holes in the rotation. And although I thought Willie Peralta was kind of a fun little surprise, I don't still have 100% confidence in him. Like maybe as a back end number 5 guy, great. Mm-hmm. But if I were Al Avila right now, my 2 priorities this offseason, we've already got the catcher thing taken care of. Great. The next thing I would go for is a shortstop. That goes without saying. And then right after that is a solid starting pitcher. I would love the Verlander reunion. I think that would be great. But even if it's not Justin Verlander, just someone who is a solid 3. We don't need a big Max Scherzer name. Hey, I would gladly take Max Scherzer. That goes without saying. But just a solid starting pitcher and someone with a little veteran experience too would be awesome to kind of, be a mentor to these young guys as they're still kind of finding their way here in Detroit. So yeah, I can't believe I'm saying this, but if I were Al and I had to focus more on starting pitching or the bullpen, I'd go on the starting pitching side of things. And again, that's just because of injury. I have the utmost confidence in my Screwball and Manning, but due to kind of some injuries from the 2021 season, our hands are tied and we need some help there.
Yeah, and I completely agree with that assessment because I think that the times that the bullpen felt at its weakest were the times that they were being taxed.
Exactly.
That's
a great point.
Because either starters weren't able to go deep because of injuries, or we were having another bullpen day because of injuries, or rightfully so, AJ Hinch and Chris Fetter had some guys on limited innings to protect their further development later down the road. I still agree with those decisions to do that for those guys. And I think that we'll all appreciate it 3 years from now when they are able to go 8 innings in October. So now my question with you about Verlander is one, do you feel, because I don't think, as much as I want it to happen, I don't think signing Justin Verlander, Verlander doesn't become the ace of the staff. He's older. He's coming off of a year of not playing, recovering from surgery. I do think he is more at the point in his career where he is like a number 3 guy in the rotation, which does sort of leave the Tigers without a clear ace in my mind. Do they need to go find an ace, or is a Justin Verlander number 3 the only like the priority plug for starting pitching?
I think we're at this point now where, look, in terms of the young guys, I feel like it's kind of like it's up for grabs. I'll be really curious to see who the opening day starters. I feel like at this point, it's a pretty safe bet to say it's Casey Mize. But, if they do bring on a guy like Verlander, maybe since he's got that veteran experience, and also it'd be a pretty awesome storyline headline to be like Justin Verlander returns to the Tiger, named opening day starter. That'd be pretty dope. But I don't know if they need to go out and get that big guy. Again, I would gladly welcome it. I'm not going to turn down a Max Scherzer. I'm not going to turn down someone of that caliber. I just don't know if that is the absolute necessity right now. And if they can save money by not doing that and put that money towards signing someone like Carlos Correa, I would much rather have them do that. So, and that's an interesting point too, and I don't want to knock Justin Verlander, who's a future Hall of Famer, but who knows necessarily what we would get if Justin Verlander were to come to the Tigers. It doesn't matter if he goes to the Tigers, wherever he goes, there is kind of a bit of a question mark around him. We know he's got a great work ethic. We know he is an absolute beast, when healthy, but he is a little bit older. He is coming off a season where he did not throw at all. And, he didn't play any games. So it's not out of the question for people to kind of be like, I wonder how this could go potentially. It's valid. So I tend to kind of lean on the side of experience and his track record. I think it speaks for itself. That's why I'm not too worried about it. But, if you are a bit apprehensive to bring in a guy like Verlander, just given his past year, I think that's fair. But yeah, I don't think they need to go out and get that big name starting pitcher at this point who's going to just all of a sudden become the ace like that. If it happens, awesome. But again, save the money by not doing that and apply it towards getting a shortstop, please.
Yeah, and I agree completely with that assessment. I would rather see them overpay for Carlos Correa than overpay for an ace,
Yep.
a bona fide ace.
Yeah.
At this point, because I do think, that being said, I want a guy like Justin's presence for these guys, for Casey Mize, Tarek Skubal, to be able to learn from. To like we saw Jonathan Scope doing it a lot with Akil Baddoo in particular, of just that like veteran presence, talking about making those adjustments as the game unfolds, and just having that other coaching voice in addition to AJ Hinch, Chris Fetter.
We saw a lot with Robbie too, doing that. And I think that, and let's be honest, baseball is a game sometimes about storylines, where people kind of do want to see the big, buzzworthy, clickbait title they want to read about or watch every night. And on paper, it's a pretty cool storyline as they're both winding down their careers. Miguel Cabrera and Justin Verlander reunite in Detroit to try to make up for what they couldn't accomplish in the early 2010s and try to do it before their careers, they sail off into the sunset, so to speak. On paper, that sounds pretty awesome. Whether that happens, who knows? Did you see the thing where Miggy commented on Justin Verlander's Instagram post and said, "Come home" or "Come back to your family"? I mean, I won't be surprised if it happens. I hope it happens. I want it to happen. But it's hard though. Sometimes you got to think with your brain and not your heart. So someone who thinks with his heart sometimes more than his brain, you got to be careful there. But I think really though, no matter what you're thinking with, so to speak, it would be a good fit. I think it would be an awesome storyline, but also I think Justin Verlander would bring a lot to this Tigers team where it is currently at. We said it. I know we said it in the past with some episodes over the summer. Imagine if you're a Casey Mize and now you get to be mentored by Justin Verlander. Yeah. Riley Green is about to be mentored by Miguel Cabrera, one of the greatest hitters of all time. So, I mean, pretty cool stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I think back on the only reason I think it doesn't work on even from a logic standpoint is if Justin wants too much money, which I don't necessarily foresee as an issue unless the Tigers have an obscenely low number in their head for what they would be willing to spend to make that happen. Yeah. I think that, I don't want to, I'd also be willing to a little bit overpay for Justin Verlander, just as from a fan perspective of bringing Justin back in to kind of let him retire as a Tiger, and hopefully go into the Hall as a Tiger with a World Series with the Tigers. And it also is interesting as I think about like this offseason versus last offseason, and how we were talking after the AJ Hinch signing. And what was going to be what we needed to see this year and what we kind of needed to see moving forward. I think we saw what we needed to see like 2 years from now.
Yeah.
That, if they're not above 500 next year, based on this year, that will be a disappointment to me. And I don't think a year ago, I would not have said that same sentence, that if at the end of the 2022 season, they were not an above 500 baseball team, I would have been disappointed. I'd be like, they got to be close to 500 at that point.
Yeah. They pretty much just jumped everything by a year. They made up for lost time from the 2020 season, and they just really, maybe the 60 games was the best thing that ever happened to the Tigers. I mean, realistically, we kind of expedited probably having another similar-ish 2019 season, and we kind of just got to bypass it through 60 games. It came and went. We got AJ Hinch, and you are now almost a 500 baseball team heading into the 2022 season, which is pretty crazy to say out loud. But yeah, there's a lot of cool things happening. There's no doubt about it. And AJ Hinch is the man. I mean, he did a phenomenal job this season, as did the entire coaching staff, navigating this lineup, navigating this pitching staff. I'm just supremely impressed. I haven't heard much lately with our guy, our buddy George Lombard. I feel like he will get poached elsewhere this offseason, but I haven't read much yet about that. Also, to be fair, I have been a little bit checked out just with work stuff going on and whatnot, but I'm still keeping in the loop. And even for what little I have been in the loop, I haven't heard his name circulating around much. I hope we can keep him. I think he's a huge asset.
I still at this point would not be surprised if come December we find out George Lombard has gotten a managerial position somewhere.
Yeah.
And I'll do a quick search here for a second, but like at this point, I'm also like starting to become more confident that we have at least one more year before George Lombard gets his manager position, which will be more than well earned. As he was, almost the Tigers manager, and I would have been thrilled with that as well had it not been AJ Hinch. I don't think he's gonna go anywhere at this point, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, he could. It's very, very, very early on still in this offseason. But it'll be interesting. I thought I saw something, and I don't know how much truth there is to this, and here we both are on
because we currently just have the Mets and the A's, right?
Yeah, that is assuming no one else gets the boot. Let's see here. I thought I read something that Carlos Correa turned down. Oh, so this was from an MLB source posted yesterday. The Astros have offered free agent shortstop Carlos Correa a 5-year contract worth $160 million, averaging to $32 million a year. I haven't heard anything if he turned that down, if that's just like it's just floating around right now. So just take that for what it's worth, Tigers fans. The Astros have apparently made a bid to bring Correa back to Houston. I hope this is where Chris is going to have to open the pocketbook. We've been saying this for a long time now. I mean, now it is no longer put up or shut up time. It's just do it time, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just do it. Just do it. You got to open it up. If you got to open up a few more franchises for Little Caesars Pizza, fine. Do it. Maybe I can come work the weekends for you. Actually, I can't. I'm very busy right now. But just get Carlos Correa to Detroit. Get us a shortstop in Detroit. It's time.
It's going to be a 6-year, $194 million deal. That's my prediction. 6 years, $194 million.
Coming to Detroit. And yeah, my question was, do you think he breaks 200?
He might. I almost went 6-year 200.
Yeah.
But that also might be. That feels like a big number to write the check for.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be more in the ballpark of 180, 190.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe it's 5 years, 190. Like,
dude, and to be fair, there's a lot of other great shortstops out there. So if for some reason the Tigers don't get Carlos Correa and they, bring on a guy like, I don't really want to be biased, but really then again, beggars can't be choosers. But if they bring in a guy like Trevor Story, I'll be like, great, this is awesome. Let's do it. Like, I'm not going to be losing sleep over that too. I just really want Carlos Correa. And then again, it makes sense for the storyline's sake. AJ Hinch, Carlos Correa reuniting in Detroit, trying to get another World Series ring together. Like, it just, sometimes this stuff just kind of aligns perfectly and naturally. And hopefully that's kind of how it works for the Tigers this offseason, as we could potentially get some pretty cool reunions. And let's hope it happens.
Yeah, because I think so. I mean, it'll depend on who. To kind of go back to George Lombard, as I look at this MLB.com manager rumors and candidates article, I think it will more or less come down to who the Mets finally get to be their GM.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I don't know if anyone wants to take the Mets GM job. It's usually a cursed position.
Well, it is definitely like multiple candidates have withdrawn their name. As it is the defense.
Like, no. I still want to have a career. Yeah, it's not great.
Baseball.
Yeah, not great.
Yeah, and so I mean, I think that will determine who. I honestly, in the managerial world, I was surprised that Aaron Boone kept his job with the New York Yankees.
Yeah. And that kind of brings me back, Alex, and thank you for bringing up his name, because the Yankees kind of Metsed it up almost.
They really
didn't
did.
quite
the Mets definitely Metsed it up, and then the Yankees joined them on the.
Yeah, they kind of Metsed it up a little bit. Just goes to show you, it doesn't matter how much money you go out to get guys. money doesn't buy you a World Series championship. Sometimes it can, sometimes it cannot. The Yankees were the latter. Bringing back though, not, of course, I would also welcome a guy like a Garrett Cole, and obviously he's not going anywhere anytime soon. But just because you go out and get the big guy doesn't mean that it's always going to work out for you. Look at what Garrett Cole did in one game playoff. He completely just crapped the bed. So it's like, I know it's not really necessarily fair. It's one start, but still, I mean, that's why I really just, again, I don't feel like we need that big ace. I would welcome it, but let's put that money towards getting us a really top-notch shortstop and really kind of getting that, anchor for the team.
It's actually, I mean, like, and that's the, as you look at even big closer signings, right? Like the Yankees are a really good example. Like Aroldis Chapman had a terrible year.
Yeah, not great.
And similarly with Garrett Cole, as someone who for the first time was actually like paying a little bit more day-to-day attention to the Yankees, having, living in New York, not really great from start to start. Like overall, I haven't looked back at his numbers. I think he probably had a fine year. But it was really like concentrated in a couple of really great starts and a couple of like really bad starts, and then some so-so stuff where it was like, I'm not comfortable. Like I think back to the last time Verlander was in Detroit, like Verlander coming up on the mound, I was comfortable. Like we were going to fine through 7. And then
probably lose 2-1, but we'll be fine through 7.
Who knows what was going to happen after that. And that just like wasn't the case with Garrett Cole this year for the Yankees. And so like, I think even like going back to that same of like, I would rather go sign an older guy who's like maybe a third or fourth guy in the rotation, but has a real history of consistency.
Right.
Then this guy's had a great 2 years. Let's go bring him in. Even if for whatever reason Garrett Cole became available, I don't know that I would want the Tigers to. I'd take it, but I don't know that I'd be like.
If Garrett Cole all of a sudden became available, someone needs to be fired in the Yankees organization because he just got there. So yeah, I don't know. No, it's going to be what it is. The Tigers know what they have to accomplish this offseason, so now just go out there and do it. It doesn't mean enough of the kind of the meandering around. Are we going to do it, or just go and do it? Come on, everybody knows what you need to do. Al has already kind of sent some mixed messaging, already even with the Tucker Barnhart saying, he's like, didn't he almost say like this was like pretty much our top of the list priority? And then of course it kind of gets people into a stir crazy. He's like, what do you mean? Just enough with the games, enough with the kind of the mysterious quotes and taglines. Get the shortstop. You need to get it done. Let's go compete next season. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I think we'll have Carlos Correa signed by Christmas.
Oh, that'd be a wonderful Christmas gift to have.
That's
and then
what
you can get me then we'll get each other Carlos Correa jerseys.
Yeah, let's do it. I mean, we already have
you'll be getting an Astros one.
Ben Barnhart, a Tucker Barnhart,
our buddy,
Tigers
yeah.
Jersey. Yeah. So if they make it in tent sized, he's a very good guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's kind of the next thing I hope we see. I won't be mad if we see that like a Jamer extension. Like
I meant to say this too. Thank you for reminding me again. I think the 3 priorities for the Tigers this offseason should be getting a shortstop, getting a very, very solid starting pitcher to add to this rotation, and extending Jamer Candelario. I think he's earned it.
Yeah,
Jonathan Scope can get a 2-year extension. Jamer Candelario can get a payday as well.
Yeah, I like to see a lot of a decent amount of that roster was. I wouldn't mind them extending Robbie. I know he's only in the. He's still got a year on that,
One more year to go.
Lock it in now.
Yep. Throw him another year, maybe.
Yeah. And
I wonder if they're almost like a little too. If they're kind of like waiting to do that because you do have Riley Green, Gil Badu, Daz Cameron, Derek Hill. Derek Hill was a kind of interesting story too this year. When he was healthy, really consistent, really productive. Same thing with Jake Rogers. Before he got injured, I thought he was having a nice little season as well. Poor Derek Hill, though, he just couldn't catch a break, just kept getting hurt left and right. But man, when he was healthy, I was very happy to see him succeeding at the major league level. That was awesome. Daz Cameron, I think it's kind of not that it's necessarily fair to say like, all right, dude, like, what do you got? But he's had some opportunities now, and it's kind of been, and he's been injured, I know, at times, but right now I'm more in the Derek Hill camp than I am Daz. But I wish them both well because I think they can really help. I just want to continue to see the development of Akil Baddoo, especially him.
Yeah, I think season. Yeah. So I think like for me, like what I'm looking at is once we have the shortstop solved and we know what that contract looks like and how long it's going to be on the books and all of that stuff, I would love to see them start to lock in some of those pieces for another, like, so we have 2, maybe 3 years with this roster, like even just like locking to the end of the Miggy contract.
Yep.
Of like, okay, this is the group. We'll potentially make a move if we need to, but like, here we go. We've got 2 cracks at it.
Yeah.
And
because Miggy's under contract this year and next year, and then he's got an option, I want to say, for 2024. And he has said that when his contract is up, that is it. So,
and it'll be interesting. And I would guess if they were close, like if they lost in the ALCS in the final year of his deal, then he might take the option.
Yeah.
To give it one more shot.
Is it a player option or a club option? I don't even know what it is.
I mean, honestly, in my opinion, it's Miggy. It doesn't matter if it's a player or a club option. It's a Miggy option.
If he wants to make a go at it, he'll make a go at it. Which, hey, as long as if he keeps hitting, I have no qualms with how he's hitting right now. None. Wish maybe hit a little bit more. I mean, really, maybe a little bit more for power, but other than that, none. Considering the fact the man pretty much plays on one leg, I think he's doing pretty well.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting to see that, like, now that he's hit the home runs, what adjustments does he make to his swing going into next season? Because we started to see him make adjustments towards the end of the year.
Yeah.
Where he was still producing great base hits. And like, as we see Miggy adjust into that moment, he's got the home run monkey off of his back. Now are we going to see Miggy like really put it on the grass in Comerica? And there's a lot of grass to do that in Comerica.
It's true. Nick Castellanos will tell you. He will. Yeah, that'll be great. That's going to be pretty cool too. I hope he does that at home. I mean, Toronto was very gracious to him as much as they could be, given where he was for that milestone. But let's can we get one? We got to get at least one of these at home, for the love of God. And I still haven't ruled out looking at maybe a flight to get up there sometime in early to mid-April. So flying to Detroit in April, it's gonna be cold, but that's all right. You got to do what you got to do for the Hall of Famer.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that, you know, one of the nice things about it happening on the road is it did kind of give, and I think they will still do this even if he does it at home, but like it gave them a chance to like set up a nice celebration for Miggy.
Yeah.
Well deserved. I also, you know, it'll be interesting the final year of his deal. It's always interesting, not to get too far ahead of ourselves here, but like I think about like Chipper Jones.
Here we are talking like 2024, and there's an impending strike about to happen.
Yeah, like the Chipper Jones farewell tour, like Derek Jeter's final season. Like
he should definitely be getting one of those.
Seeing those guys get that curtain call in every stadium as they go there for the last time, and it's one of the things that I think is particularly special about baseball. Because the season is so long, because like baseball fans are so diehard, and like even as you Mets fans, you know, hate Chipper Jones, but are still like respect Chipper Jones as he comes to play, and
of course
give him that moment in the stadium. I mean, Chipper Jones named his son Shea after Shea Stadium, so that's
a wonderful fact. He should definitely be receiving that. There's no doubt about that. So it'll be interesting to see. Don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but there's awesome things to come for the Tigers. We're going to see some history in 2022 with Miggy. Let's see this team continue to develop and grow. And for the love of God, Al Avila and Chris Ilitch sign a shortstop. The time has come. No more games. No more question marks. No more mysterious headlines. Sign a shortstop today. You have 24 hours. That'll be good.
I'm going to revise the offer that's going to Carlos Correa. It's going to be 5 years, $194 million, and 14 Little Caesars franchises.
That's not bad. That's not bad.
Not a bad deal.
Not a bad deal. Not a bad deal. It's going to be great. I'm going to have faith in Al and Chris. They're going to get it done. They're going to make us all very happy Tigers fans. And by Christmas, many Detroit Tiger fans may be able to ask for a Carlos Correa jersey for the holidays. So what more could you ask for?
Yeah, nothing. You can ask for nothing more. And we'll eventually be here to talk about it when it all happens, folks.
Yeah.
So keep tuning in. Subscribe to us. Join us on Twitter and on Facebook at Mish_Trumbull. We're there a lot. We hang out. We tweet about news. We ignore football season as Lions and Bears fans.
Terrible.
This has been the best week of Lions football because it's a bye week.
This has been the happiest Sunday I've had since football season's begun because the Bears play on Monday. So it's a very relaxing Sunday for me. So not bad. Not bad.
All right, folks. That's going to do it for this episode. We're going to see y'all online. We'll see you throughout the offseason and get ready for season 3. We're talking about some adjustments on the show. So we will have, and it'll be awesome.
Al Avila is going to be the third chair. That's one of the things we're going for.
Once he gets a shortstop, Stein, what else does he need to do?
He's pretty much done it all.
So away he'll go. But we'll
Watch
be
alongs with Alex, Al, and Luke. That's going to be our new thing in the third season.
Oh man, Al would, if anything could get Al to leave the organization, it might be that.
Yeah.
Just to watch games with you and I.
That's my master plan. All right, buddy.
All right. We'll see you later, Luke. Have a good one.
Hey, bud.